All right, well, the Yankees win 1-0. Jake, you were texting me and saying that this game was boring. I kind of agreed, but I'll say this. We swept. We sweep the Kansas City Royals, and Will Warren dazzles. I did want to give some credit. We did have Mark, who's a frequent super chatter here. He said that Will Warren was going to be great. He was exactly right. We'll talk about that. Obviously, Seth Lugo matched almost everything he did. 5 2/3, 2 hits, 0 earned runs. We'll talk about that. And Pablo Reyes contributed today. Paul Goldschmidt liner to first base. Whole bunch of stuff happened. If you missed that, we're going to dive into it. We'll also talk home plate umpire Alfonso Marquez. I didn't want to talk about him. I rarely ever want to talk about an umpire. He was horrible tonight. He was really bad in pretty much every way. Aaron Judge had the day off. We'll discuss whether or not that was a good move. Obviously, in hindsight, you'd love to give him the day off if you'd known we'd win 1-0, but he did have an at-bat there at the end of the day. Didn't feel like they gave much of a chance to actually take an at-bat. It felt like the bat was taken out of his hand. We'll tease pretty much that Boston series that starts tomorrow. A lot of us are excited about that. I see some people in the chat who are not so excited for the Yankees and maybe their fate. In any and all super chats, we'll divert a little bit and discuss with our audience. If you guys like to, we'd really appreciate that. And before we do any of that, please make sure to like this video and subscribe. But Jake, I want to start off this conversation with what Will Warren did, because anytime I talk about a 4-5 starter in any rotation, I've long been saying you need production offensively. You need runs. You need support to give them some confidence that they don't have to be perfect. And the Yankees didn't do that today. It was just one of those dogfights, and there were bad weather around the corner, left and right. We were hearing of rain delays all day, and yet Will Warren rose to the occasion, I guess to Mark's prediction. But what did you think about this outing? Because he was great today.
Yeah, I thought Will Warren was awesome. And I actually agree with Boone taking him out when he did. He doesn't take him out if it's not for the rain delay. I was actually surprised he was still in there. You know what I mean? And so I think that, that's obviously why he got taken out. Once again, Will Warren pitching and there's a rain delay. I don't know why that keeps happening, but looked really good. More importantly, he bounced back. He had 2 bad starts in a row. He had the one against the Red Sox and, of course, the one against the Dodgers that we would love to forget about. But Warren looked good. He looked confident. He looked back to himself, executing, hitting the location that he needed to hit, and missing bats. And so, he didn't have the 10 strikeouts that you would like to see from him, but you also don't see 10 strikeouts every day. So I thought he looked really good today. I thought the bullpen looked really good today. Got out of a jam there. Mark Leiter Jr. did. And then Devin Williams, capped it off. It was great. But this is big because, I still think you look at Will Warren's ERA of a 4.86. I don't think that tells the full story. I think right now I would say he's about a 3.6 ERA type of guy.
That Dodgers series really didn't. I mean, if you'd wipe that away from his record, and by the way, those still count. If you get shelled against the best team or one of the best teams in baseball, those numbers count. They're still part of your record, but if you took that away, who is he more times than not? It's actually been very solid. I thought looking at his ERA, and even when I read it to you, it seemed wrong. But I guess when you do get shelled like that, it's not going to look good.
Yeah, it's frustrating because of that game, and then you have people that use stats without context. And that puts you into the Willie Downer territory. Sorry, Willie.
I love that. It's got to be a shirt at some point. And by the way, we weren't going to talk about this because I think when we looked at Devin Williams and what he did in the 9th inning, we'll touch on this real quick here. Devin Williams looked really good. And not only is he getting the outs, but his choices of when he's making pitches, you can hear the Yes broadcast saying, you don't want to give in here. And sure enough, what do you get? You get, 3-2 breaking balls. He eventually does go to the fastball to strike out Caglione, but it was actually quick work. He was efficient with what he was doing out there. There weren't base runners all over the base pass, something we're used to with Devin Williams. So Apex with the super, we really appreciated Apex with the 2, says, I'm scared Boone removes Weaver from the closer's role. Honestly, you shouldn't be afraid, and I'll tell you why. And then, Jake, I'll punt this to you. If Devin Williams eventually becomes highly serviceable at the closer's role, there's still a ton of value for Luke Weaver regardless of where you put him, because all of us would like to believe Weaver's this multi-inning, multi-dimensional guy who can go out there and pitch in the 6th and be dominant. He can pitch in the 8th and be dominant. He can go multi-inning. So having said all this, I don't feel like we lose the value in Luke Weaver if he pitches at any other point in the game. Now, would I remove him from the closer's role when he's healthy? No, he would be my closer still, but I wouldn't worry about it. Jake, what do you think about that? Because obviously he started the season as the closer. Do you think Aaron Boone's even considering it?
I do. I think it's definitely possible. I mean,
wow.
When you have injuries and say, he gets really confident and comfortable and you get a Devin Williams in a closer role, which this is what Devin Williams has been his whole career. If he earns it, yeah. And I think the sad thing is, whether people realize it or not, part of earning it is being on the field. So is sucksy, as much as it sucks that Luke Weaver got hurt, he's not on the field. And so I look at it like this, Gary. Devin Williams is really only a guy you want pitching 1 inning. But Luke Weaver can pitch 3 innings, as we've seen in the past. Obviously, you wouldn't rely on him to pitch 3, but that's what we're talking about, is a player that typically you want him pitching 1 inning. I think you could stretch Devin Williams if he had to pitch another inning. But Luke Weaver's a guy that I just see him. He goes out there, and I'm like, he could pitch 2 innings easily.
So is it fair to say that if Devin Williams was pitching well, right, and you're actually keeping the door open for this, right? The fact that
I think it's what's going to happen. Yeah,
he's pitching well, but technically speaking, I think we can all agree if Devin Williams was doing his job the way he was doing it in Milwaukee, maybe not in that series with the Mets, but overall,
not that.
And he was a very good closer for the Yankees. The Yankees get that much better because you're looking at Weaver, who now is able to come into the game in the 6th against the top of the order, and then you just have someone who's designated as your 9th inning guy. There's a reason we started the season with the roles which they were. That's why we started it that way. But I do understand the hesitancy, because there are going to be people who listen to this podcast who are thinking, Aaron Boone would be a fool. I don't want to watch what I saw those first opening weekends with Devin Williams as our closer. I don't want that. And we haven't really seen that level, that floor that we've seen out of Williams from Luke Weaver. So I understand the hesitancy, but I guess your point actually remains. That's what he was brought here to do. So if he goes out and earns the job, then I guess I don't even really know what else to say. That is what it is.
Well, think about this, right? If you have Luke Weaver and he's that dominant, you can minimize the at-bats these guys are taking, because they're not batting around the order if Luke Weaver's out there. If he sends 3 up, 3 down, 3 up, 3 down, that's 6 guys. You could have the heart of the order that didn't get to bat yet, right?
So he's a momentum stopper, if you will.
Yeah, but I also look at it the other way. So, while you could have those 3 guys that didn't bat yet, the heart of the order, and they go up against Devin Williams, well, what if he takes care of the heart of the order? He takes care of the next guys, and now the bottom 3 guys, that's your last licks against Devin Williams, who is pitching well. And that could be a strategy. And again, it coincides with the fact that this guy can pitch 2 innings. And I think if Luke Weaver comes back and Devin Williams is the closer, Luke Weaver's pitching 2 innings every time he goes out there. He's a weapon. That's what he is. And is Luke Weaver enough to be a great closer? Absolutely. But if you have 2 great closers, let's not act like that's a problem, and let's look at that as it's an advantage and find a way to maximize that advantage, and that's what I believe that would be.
Sure, and Matthew with the super. Matthew, we really appreciate the 10. He says, according to Katie Sharp, the Yankees are 9-3 in one-run games since May 6th. I did not think they were that good. More good metrics for this team's playoff fidelity. So
I love that he brought this up.
When you're talking about one-run games that are played low scoring, neither offense, there were 5 hits apiece today. So offense did not get it going at all. And mind you, for us, it sort of made sense. We saw Seth Lugo. There were a lot of guys in our lineup, no Aaron Judge, where you can say this might be a dogfight. This isn't one of those games you're going to throw up an 8 spot and be comfortable. You're going to have to fight and scratch and claw. That's exactly what we saw. But if you look on the other side for the Royals, they had to believe they were scoring today. You're getting Will Warren. Now, Will Warren's not chopped liver, but he's not Sandy Koufax either. But having said all this, when you find your way into a dogfight and it's 0-0 going into the 5th, going into the 6th, maybe going into the 7th of a game, and you've got a Paul Goldschmidt hitting a liner, runner in scoring position, and Pablo Reyes is stumbling and bumbling down the third base line trying to go back to third and then going back to home, and you ultimately end up scoring, and it's the only run of this game. You have to like the fact that the Yankees, in close games, are finding ways to win. And I'm going to put it very simply. The 2024 Yankees, we won't go any further than that. Last year's team, they don't win games like this. They lose this game somehow, some way. They find a way to lose. And then we talk about Aaron Boone and his decision-making to sit Aaron Judge and the fact that he could have been a difference maker in the game. And this unit, overall, is just finding ways. And if I had told you that Pablo Reyes was going to be one of the reasons, if not the reason, the Yankees win a game, I'll be damned. But that's what we saw. So I love this comment from Matthew. The fact that we're good in one-run games is somewhat of an indication of what we'll do in October.
I'm going to look at it in terms of this. You ever watch people trying to fill out their March Madness brackets and the things that they look at? They're looking at teams that are good in close games. They're looking at teams that can hit free throws. They're looking at teams that can hit threes. They have rim protection, right? And then, of course, strength of schedule. I feel like the Yankees have a resume of a World Series team right now. I'm not saying that they are a World Series team, but I'm saying right now they have the resume of that.
What are those qualities you're looking for?
Well, I'm looking for the best road team in the league, which is the Yankees. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for the team that's going to score the most runs, the best run differential, Yankees, right? I'm looking for the team that's leading the league in OPS, Yankees. I'm looking for the team that's winning, one-run games. I'm looking for a team that has more 5+ run innings than the previous year, which they do. They have 17 this year, 5+ run innings. They had 15 in 162 games all of last year. They've already surpassed last year.
So what do you need to see, by the way? Because you're seeing some breadcrumbs of a championship team. You can't win a title by June 12th. I think everyone here understands this. We know this.
Yeah.
But you can't look like chopped liver in early June to mid-June and then all of a sudden expect to look like a title contender in October. You need to show something, some type of heartbeat. What else do you need to see? Because obviously, I think personnel-wise, that's been the biggest question mark, is that do we necessarily have all the pieces? I think if you look at what we're actually doing in terms of our output, I think it makes a lot of sense why you would think this is a championship contender. I really do. But you also have to be realistic, and you've mentioned the bullpen as being a problem.
It still
there
is,
are
100%.
Definitely, there's a problem there. And if you can look at that for what it is, it means we can be a title contender if we're aggressive and we hit on what we're supposed to hit on at the deadline. So what else do you need to see? Is it just bullpen, or do you think there's also some bats that have to be had?
Well, I mean, they're running out of roster spots for bats. That's what I mean. That I look at this roster and I'm like, Pablo Reyes is gone, right? He's going to be replaced by Giancarlo Stanton, and then what's the other roster spot? Because you'd have to get rid of an Escara, you'd have to get rid of Ben Rice, you'd have to get rid of Trent Grisham. I mean, these guys have roles, right? Peraza would be the only one. So, and he doesn't have any options left. So if they like Peraza, they might opt not to go after bats. Now, would that be a mistake? I don't know. If they believe that his hitting isn't quite where it should be, but they feel like there's potential there, okay, because the glove is it's good enough. But then you look at IKF, he's got familiarity, he's played in the Bronx, he's definitely produced. He's a Gold Glove third baseman. He could play second, he could play short. That's not ideally where I want him, and he can also play catcher. So the way I see it is you only have one spot, and you have to decide between Peraza and a guy at the deadline, in my opinion. And
I'd probably go guy at deadline over Peraza, because you have to imagine it's about fit now. At this
I would
point.
too. You're probably losing Peraza. And if you feel like that's like a loss that you can't have, then you make the decision to keep him. If you don't, see, I can't answer that, because for me personally, I would go after IKF and hope Peraza slipped through waivers and I bring him back on AAA. But for the Yankees, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't feel like they ever really gave Peraza a shot, and now all of a sudden they're giving him burn. It feels like they wouldn't do it this year, and he's been on the team for a while now. But again, if they were going to replace him with a guy that the clubhouse would love in an IKF, I think it's possible. But this also goes along the idea, like, if they trade for somebody, it makes zero sense to replace Peraza with an outfield bat, and that's, again, why Luis Robert yesterday just doesn't make any sense. I know you didn't suggest him, and I didn't, but just for people that missed yesterday's episode, like, there's all this talk about them getting an outfielder. It doesn't make a lick of sense. They would want to go infield. If Brandon Lau became available, he's a great fit. His numbers would suggest he'd hit well at Yankee Stadium. He does hit well at Yankee Stadium, but the Rays are good. I think the Rays will be buyers at the deadline now. So rule him out. Then you have, and yes, I'm going to say his name because people get pissed in the comment section. I kind of love it at this point. Yoan Moncada. And I don't care. Ooh, he's injury prone. I don't care. He's a rental, and he gives you 800 plus OPS, damage. So
Who's
I can
not
get
injury prone at this point? I feel like guys just get banged up. I mean, Jazz Chisholm isn't necessarily reliable right now. And I get that people say, oh, no, he's not hurt, and Aaron Boone is confident about his health, and then the fact that he'll be there. Okay, great. I'm glad that we've got that type of confidence, but this isn't the first time, right? This isn't the first organization that this has happened. This isn't picking on him. This is also looking at the back of his baseball card and saying, why isn't he playing 157? He's one of the best athletes in the sport. Why isn't he playing 155 games a year? Why hasn't that happened? Well, his health. That's been a question mark. So, yeah, you mentioned there's really only one spot offensively, and I know that there are going to be people in our comments or people in general with the opinion that, well, there's a ton of ways the Yankees can upgrade. They can upgrade over DJ LeMahieu, right? They can find upgrades over certain players, but you have to ask yourself, are the Yankees willing to get contribution from a player like DJ, who's hitting, right now he's hitting over 280? He's going to go out there getting paid over $15 million a year. They're going to go trade for somebody who's an upgrade, and then what? Do what with DJ? When he's contributing, they're going to play him. So you've mentioned this, Jake. The only player is going to be Pablo Reyes, and he's off this roster, right? He's going to be off this roster eventually. But also, you're looking at guys, and who else did we say it was? It was Peraza? Yeah, Peraza is going to find his way off this roster, most likely, right? Most likely. They're going to find somebody else who can go out there and contribute, and it's more about the bat. It's not the glove. It's the bat and what you can do. And I like the idea of IKF and just what he does offensively. It's not a ton of pop. It's not necessarily what you're looking for, but he's a professional at bat. He's going to hit 275. He may hit 285, right?
The way they won yesterday, by the way, the hitting, the way the Yankees won yesterday, right?
Right.
No home. Well, they had a home run, Judge.
But it was the contact game.
It was all about the contact, opposite field, situational hitting. That's IKF. So if that's what you feel like you're missing, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I will also say this, Gary. There's another player that could be in mind.
Who's
ready
that?
for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
JC Escarra. And hear me out. Ben Rice already being talked about as catching. JC Escarra, they probably do have, I mean, he's never been on the team before. They probably do have options. I would hate it because I hate the idea of penalizing a guy who's hitting, a guy who is just as good defensively, arguably, as Austin Wells. Like, really good. I mean, this is why they got rid of Narvaez. Because the window to win is right now. And they felt like Narvaez is kind of a younger guy, and they wanted to go with the older guy in Escarra, the veteran guy. Ironically, even though Narvaez had more experience. But I get what they were doing. My point being is it would kind of tick me off, and it should tick off Escarra if he was sent down the way he's playing. He went 2 for 4 today. I know he's hitting 237. I get that. That's not like crazy. It's not like he's hitting 300. But when you watch him play, this guy is an above 700 OPS. Do you know how hard it is to stay above 700 when you're playing like once every week? That's
very
not
difficult.
easy.
He's a good player. He just is. No one expected him to play at this level, but the fact that the Yankees were making the decision that he was going to be the guy, they made a decision for this to happen. Yeah. They were proactive for this to happen. So there had to be something there, and now that we've watched about a month and a half, 2 months of baseball, it's obvious what JC brings to the table. I mean, he's actually got I'm just going to say it. I think he has the prettiest swing on the baseball team. I do. And that's
I love
saying
his swing,
a lot.
dude.
It's one of the best swings ever. So I want to get to this super from Kyle. I think I saw this on X, by the way. He said, "Thank you, Pablo Reyes, for your service. Now get off this team." I'm positive I saw that on X. But yeah, we're proud that Pablo found a way. Not easy, by the way, because our next topic and home plate umpire Alfonso Marquez also took the bat out of Pablo's hands. So we're going to get to that conversation here pretty shortly. Apex says Warren has long-term potential. Send Strowman to Mars. And Jake, you said there's only one spot offensively. There are a couple spots. Like, you can usually find spots for arms.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't know what spot they're trying to find. With Marcus Strowman,
it would be so easy to justify Marcus Strowman if he wants to pitch in the bullpen, because I think he's got stuff where he could work as a bullpen pitcher. But if he is like that stubborn, is like, I'm not going to the bullpen, they are going to have to just get rid of him in some facet. And I kind of have a feeling like they're going to test it out. And if he pitches well, and say like he ends up being the starter, if he's the starter, that means Yarborough's going back to the bullpen. And that should make you feel sour. It should. But I think part of me still believes that they're trying to trade him. And the only way to really trade him at this point is to show he still has value. You're not going to trade him after he showed he couldn't get through an inning in the MLB.
How are you going to show that he has value? Or are you going to just throw him on the mound and just start praying? Because
that's essentially, I mean, dude, I don't think this is a well thought out plan. I've gone on record saying that. This is not one of the well thought out plans the Yankees have had.
Well, could you imagine if he goes out, let's just say he pitches well. If he's got a month and a half of baseball left to the deadline.
Yeah.
He pitches well for 5 weeks. Essentially, you make the assumption he pitches like maybe 3 or 4 times, right? He's going to give, I don't know, 20 and 2/3 innings, 24 innings of work.
Yeah.
He's going to go out there and do whatever he does. You're praying that he pitches well. Let's say he does. You think another organization in baseball is saying, who can we pick up for a depth piece? Hey, what about Marcus Strowman? He's owed $10 million remaining of the year. No. Absolutely
and
not.
Baseball,
it doesn't make sense.
So you can't do like all sorts of crazy stuff with the money. You know what I mean? Like you do take
not really.
on the contract. The Yankees could eat some of it, but you're going to take on pretty much all of the contract.
Yeah, but I mean, who are you going to fool, though? I mean, I guess he's still a big leaguer. He knows how to pitch, but there's a difference between knowing how to pitch and being able to execute what you know. There's also a skill aspect. And by the way, Marcus Strowman was highly skilled. He's not 23 years old anymore, right? This isn't me writing him off. This is me acknowledging players' age, and it affects different players in different ways. For him and his stature, I think he's 5'7", like probably 180 pounds. It's not aging well. It's just not. So like the fact that he was brought to this team, I like the idea, but now in the situation, right, June 12th of 2025, what that looks like, I think the idea of pitching him at all to try and raise his value is just wasting outs, as far as I'm concerned. Alex Reyes.
I agree.
Glad to see Reyes is back in the Supers with Reyes comments. Says Reyes to Monument Park now, obviously a bit of sarcasm, but he was the reason, point blank, we won this game. So I'm proud to say that happened. I'm not trying to make fun of him in any way. Anytime a player, whether you think he should be here or not, makes an impact, you got to give him his props. And Matthew with the 2 says 9-3. We brought this up a little bit earlier. In one-run games is tied for first, by the way.
Oh,
big time.
Did not know that. That's really good.
And Mark with another super with a 5 says not A, not B, our C lineup. And Jake, I'm curious to know what you think if we actually had our C lineup out there. I mean, we had no Jazz, right? No Aaron Judge. Just won a game. If you told me this lineup would win 1-0 with Will Warren pitching and Devin Williams with a clean save, that's the catch right there, I'd call you crazy. Yeah, a lot happened today, Mark. What do you think about that idea? Did you think this is our C lineup? Because I think our lineup overall was still pretty quality.
I think today just goes to show you, obviously you never want to see Judge not in the lineup, but at least on paper, I know they didn't do anything crazy today. They only scored 1 run. But on paper, this is a pretty solid lineup. It goes to show you that they have a lot of depth. Like this is not like years past. Depth that is proven. What we always have in sports with depth is people will try and justify just because you have bodies. people will start talking about them like they're depth pieces. This happened with the Yankees. Like
Quintana.
Well, yeah. It's so frustrating to me. And when you look at this roster, I'm going to be completely honest with you. The only reason people are even saying C lineup, because I've seen that a lot, is Pablo Reyes being in it. But let's be honest, they don't have a C lineup. They have a B lineup. And that is because of how strong they are offensively. I mean, if this is your B lineup where it's Grisham, Rice, Goldschmidt, Bellinger, Dominguez, Volpe, Escara, and Peraza, I mean, it's not bad.
Can I read it off for you? Because I actually agree wholeheartedly with what you just said. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, Trent Grisham, and I'm positive this is it. So I'm just going to read the ops of our lineup. Now, this has not always been the case. And if you don't believe me, go back and look at last year's team. Go back and look in 2022 what it looks like 1 through 9, okay, in terms of ops. This isn't the holy grail, but it's still an indication of something. Trent Grisham, his ops is 823. Ben Rice, 802. Goldschmidt, 830. Bellinger, 773. Dominguez, who a lot of us are viewing as ice cold, right? Ice cold. 726, above league average. Anthony Volpe, the player that a lot of people have been criticizing for a while now, maybe not delivering on expectations, and those expectations were sky high. His ops is still 764. His ops against left-handed pitching, over 900. So he's contributing. Escara, above league average, 706 ops. And we know what he's doing with the glove, right? Peraza's the one guy. His ops is 552, but you say, what's he doing on the other end? He's been great defensively, right? Aaron Judge didn't play at all today. Bat was taken out of his hands by an umpire. DJ LeMahieu's ops is 769. He's giving us above league average output in quality defense. Not great, quality. So when we call this your C lineup, 7 of the 9 players I just listed are above league average. You're going to score runs often. And maybe you can call it a C lineup in comparison to our A lineup because the best hitter in the sport of the generation wasn't in it. That is valid. You've got Pablo in it. That is valid. But we don't win this game without Pablo. So a lot happened today. And I want to move this conversation, though, Jake, because I'm so curious. I don't want the show to be 2 hours. But our home plate umpire, I wanted to get to it. Alfonso Marquez, and anytime you know the home plate umpire's name, that is not a good thing. I think the Yes broadcast did mention he had somewhat of a pitcher's zone. Anytime there's a pitcher's zone, it just tells you he calls pitches off the plate, and he's not good. Today, I wouldn't even say the calls were off the plate, low or high per se. They were just inconsistent, which is my biggest gripe. What did you see out there?
That's exactly what I saw. And ball doesn't lie, by the way, with that, scoring the game winner.
Sure as hell
because Aaron Judge, that is one of the best at-bats I've ever seen from a pinch hitter. Like, that's what pissed me off. He earned that, man. He earned that walk. And think about it. You don't think Judge wants to get up there and hit a home run? You don't think he wants to be like, yeah, I haven't played all day. I get off the bench, hit a home run, go back to the bench? I think he'd love that. But Judge was trying to win a game for this team. And he felt the best way to do that is work the count and get on base any way possible and keep it going. And I just think it's a really bad look to miss that call because the previous pitch is the exact same location. And you could argue the one he called a strike was a worse, like it's lower, but it's like the same exact location. The point being here, and this is exactly how it was worded by David Cohn today on the broadcast, and I loved it. When you call that a ball, Aaron Judge is being bamboozled essentially into thinking that is a ball. So when he sees that same exact pitch, well, I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to swing at something I just looked at that was a ball. Why would I swing at it now? You're not going to get me to chase that.
It's helping him with his swing decisions. If you're going to try and throw a front door slider,
yeah,
and it ends up where it ends up, and now my eyeballs are telling me, okay, I can register that pitch right there. This umpire has made a decision. This is going to be a ball tonight. That's a ball.
Yep.
Perfect. If I get that exact same pitch or something even more off the plate, no brainer. That's what makes me a Hall of Famer, by the way. It's not hand-eye coordination. That's certainly an aspect of it. But the difference between Barry Bonds, Aaron Judge, right? Manny Ramirez, all the historically great hitters and just the really good hitters is their swing decisions. Aaron Judge, after every single pitch, I know we probably don't really think about this because we're just watching the game and more of a casual experience. They're trying to take data after every pitch. Okay, that pitch right there, I didn't feel like that was a strike, but he's clearly giving that to him. So now I know if he goes back over there, I've got to consider it. And with 2 strikes, I'm going if it's over there. That's the mentality. So I love that the Yes broadcast brought it up. I love that you brought it up. There's no reason that for anyone consistently to call a pitch off the plate. Obviously, that's a reason we want robo-umps in the first place. But to call something one way, have it be wrong, or actually, I guess, correct, and then later on it's wrong. So now as a hitter, I'm just learning nothing. It's just a crapshoot out there. So obviously disappointing. You would have loved Aaron Judge to be at first base. He earned that right. Disappointing, but this aspect of the game is going away. Thank God.
Yeah,
Mark
bad.
with the super with the 5 says, to further Matt's point, Yesta showed a graphic that the Yanks have won 4 games by a score of 1-0, most in Major League Baseball and the most by the Yankees. And Jake, you told me about this just before we went live.
Yep.
Since the 1970s. And it feels like that's 35 years ago, but it is 2025, ladies and gentlemen. That is a long, long time ago. So
1976 to be exact. So
yeah, that's some great data right there. So what do you think, by the way, if we get into a postseason game, you already know people are going to be saying, well, our bullpen is going to be a major indication of how we play in these one-run games. You know what I think these results tell me? So I actually disagree with that takeaway, that bullpen is the reason or the main reason why you win these games. I think the main reason you win these games is with your offense. I think the main reason you win these games, people never talk about it. What does your 1 through 9 do? Don't tell me about your 2 and 3, your historically great 1-2 punch, because more times than not, they don't come up. They just don't. More times than not, you're going to look up and say, who's hidden? It's Bellinger, Dominguez, Volpe. What does the group do? Can they scrap a run? And this group is sort of shown, I can score a run if it's ugly. I can put up, Jake, you mentioned before we went live again, this Yankees team not only is winning 1-run games, they're also putting up crooked numbers at a higher clip than they've ever done. So this group offensively, I think, is the reason they're winning these types of games.
Yeah, and just to explain, 1-run game is like being up by a field goal the entirety of the game.
Right.
That's not easy. Your back is against the wall. Defense always has to worry about it. Puts a lot of pressure on the pitcher. But pitchers, they stepped up today and, a little bit more than yesterday. You're up 6-0. You have the shutout in the bag, and then all of a sudden you give up 3 runs.
Look at Kansas City. They lost today. You think Kansas City felt like they had an error that surrendered a run. One mental mistake, one physical error cost them the entire game. They got swept. And now the Yankees, they go to Boston.
They called it a hit, by the way.
Yeah, they called it a hit, but then they gave him the error for the run scoring. So that eventually was adjusted there. And I believe it was the pitcher who made the error. But it goes to show you, if you want to talk about mental errors and mental mistakes, these games need to be played clean. So the Yankees can be criticized all you want to when they make these critical errors. But when they play a game like this, where overall they were sharp all day, Williams showed up and dealt, right? All the guys who came out of the bullpen did their jobs. Will Warren did his job. And ultimately, we get quality contact from Paul Goldschmidt. We win this game. Pablo, it seemed like he was trying to throw the game. We didn't know what was going on. But he ultimately scores.
I love the broadcast showed Jack Cust falling down. That was the funniest thing ever.
I'm shocked that they did that. That was awesome. That was so cool.
Jack Cust is somewhere just chilling on his couch, enjoying retired life, and people are just texting him like, "Oh yeah, Yankees, Entertainment Sports Network just showed you." Like, what? The Yankee game just showed you. It's like, oh, they showed me falling on my ass. Like, you know what I mean? It's like
the brutal part of sports. Yeah, you can be the butt of the joke. I mean, same thing with like Jabba Chamberlain. They always show him with all the gnats and the bugs.
Because that's just what you want to be associated with.
Yeah, that was like the worst baseball game ever. And Scott Ross, we're going to get to the last 2 supers, and then we'll get to this Boston series and then get to our picks really fast. We won't drag it on too long for you guys because I know we've been doing literally movie premieres.
It's
Scott
true.
Ross with the 5, always been great. Scott, we really appreciate it. Says, guys, I know you love him and this is true, but I think Ben Rice looks a lot more like 2024 Rice than early Ben. So I'm going to disagree real short here. Ben Rice is making quality contact. I think he's making outs. He's still slugging, and there are a lot of balls on the ground. I know he flew out twice today, which is somewhat a step in the right direction, but I think if you look at the ops, you look at the slugging, all of that is still there for Ben Rice. I'm not worried about him at all. I like the process. This is just one of those ebbs and flows with the numbers of the season. By year's end, Scott, you're going to eat these words. You'll wait and see.
That's how I feel as well. Ben Rice, it's the process to me. Okay. You look at last year, he is not the same player at all. There's a reason why his OPS is still over 800. I know people keep talking about how, he's kind of fallen off. Not really. His OPS is still above 800, despite the fact he's not hitting home runs. He's getting incredibly unlucky outs. He hit a ball further than anybody today, and it was a pop out. There was a guy that hit a dribbler to third base. It's a hit. That's baseball, right? But when you look at Ben Rice, the thing that is really telling to me is the expected slugging percentage being over 900. Okay?
Is it really?
It is
I missed
over
that.
900.
Wow.
This guy is just getting unlucky. There's really no other way to put it. And that's the thing. Or excuse me, expected OPS over 900. His expected slugging is 565. So his slugging now is 480. Okay.
Yeah, 900 is a historically great player. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
Hall of Famers are in the thousands. 900 is an all-star.
And again,
So-
his expected batting average has stayed above 290 all year. All year.
Yeah,
this
and to be
dude is
fair to
having
Scott Ross, though.
unprecedentedly, crazy unlucky streak. And I hate saying that. I do. And you can see it in my face. I hate talking about batters being unlucky.
Yeah, luck. Yeah.
It's baseball. I mean, how many diving catches do we see nowadays? When did that used to be the case? Why does it feel like every diving catch is caught now?
Yeah, we did address, though. So to Scott Ross's point here is he's mentioning the fact that his numbers, because if you look at his batting average, he's now hitting 235. That's not good. Okay, league average is about 240, but league average is 240 with much lesser slugging. So it's not a perfect comparison here. But having said all this, we did address that there's certain areas of Ben Rice's game offensively that need some tweaking. Maybe it's launch angle, right? You still need to hit them where they ain't. It's not all luck. But there's certainly an aspect of luck there. When you hit a ball 112 and a right fielder just jumps up and makes the catch, yes, it's bad luck in the moment, but you have to imagine if you continue making contact like that, it will result in quality results. That's what we're buying into. We did this last year with Austin Wells. Eventually, and Jake led this pursuit, eventually it did go to the surface. So we think the exact same thing's happening with Ben Rice, and
Just
we
real
think that's
quick,
going to happen. What's up?
This is not the same player. Okay. So this is last year.
Yes.
Burn these into your mind right now. You get the barrel. Okay. That's Ben Rice. The chase, that went down this year. But look, okay. Look at this. That's not the same player. It's just not the same player. Now he's around average in strikeout percentage. Last year, his outs were like all strikeouts. It was insane. He was getting punched out like crazy. And now it's atom balls. And I hate to say that, but that's the numbers here suggest that. He's getting about 2 to 3 barrels every time, barrel being over 95 miles an hour off the bat, every time he starts a game. That's insane. And it's not going to be sustainable because eventually he is going to turn this thing around and he's going to get that. That luck is going to go out on the other side. Just look at Austin Wells last year. So, yeah.
I'd probably just say Ben Rice. If I had to give you a real grade 1 to 10, 10 being as worried as I possibly can be, I'd probably say it's at a 1. I'm not even kidding you.
I'm not worried
I've
at all.
absolutely not even a hint of worry about this player. The only worry I do have is that Aaron Boone would ever look up and say, well, he's hitting 230 now, so I can probably work his way maybe a couple of extra days off, something that doesn't need to happen. So I hope they really peel back and actually look at the analytics of what the numbers say he's doing offensively. The numbers say he's great. So just let him be. I know he's hitting 235. I know that's not great. I promise you, Scott, you're going to look up, he'll be hitting 263. He'll leave the yard a couple of times in a series, and then you'll look up and say, oh, his overall numbers are respectable. They actually should be even better, but now he's that producer we're looking for. So I'm looking forward to that happening. And we have a super here from Dr. Love Jones. Love the name. With the 5, it says, I don't comment much. I watch almost every episode. I just want to show you guys some love for the consistent Yankees content, peace, and love. We really appreciate that. Thank you for watching. You don't always have to get involved, but the fact that you're watching helps us out a ton. And again, guys, just to remind you guys, make sure you like this video. YouTube thinks you hated it if you didn't. And to subscribe to make sure that you're able to watch almost all of our episodes, especially hitting the bell, so you know when we go live. We try to go live within an hour of the end of every game. I know today was a little bit sooner than that. And then Mark with the super says, Orlovsky has never lived down his step-out safety.
This is a spot-on point. So,
what do you think about this?
Yeah, it annoys me because people will bring this up as like to discredit his football opinion now. Like this guy wasn't in the NFL starting NFL games. I mean,
Chris Webber, same deal, right?
I spoke with him too. Like I had him on my show a while back, and he's a smart dude. And this is at this point, I don't think he was on ESPN yet. So yeah, he knows his stuff. Someday, well, not just someday. I mean, he's turned down coaching opportunities. Someday he's going to be like in the NFL coaching, and people are going to see. But you get that. I mean, it happened with Sean Casey. Actually, perfect example. He got thrown out when he was on the Tigers, running to first base from the outfield.
Was brutal. That was brutal.
This thing that you could only do from like MLB 2K5, where you could just throw people out from the outfield.
You could do it in Slugfest too. There were a couple games you could do it.
Yeah. So he gets thrown out. It was the Red Sox, right? It was at Fenway. And
I think that sounds right. I'm not sure though.
And look at him. He ended up being the hitting coach for the Yankees. And he was around for other teams, but I figured you guys would know that he was on the Yankees at one point. And I've always had a tremendous amount of respect for the guy. So, he was a good player, and yes, it's funny, but like you don't want to just relegate their entire career to that one moment.
Yeah, for some guys it stings, for others it doesn't. Obviously, he was around the sport for a while. But Bill Buckner, it's like there was nothing else to talk about other than that one play to help the Mets. So it's a bummer. And certain things you live down, other things you don't even get an opportunity, right? I think it was, who was it, the dude who dropped the pop-up? It was like Luis Castillo dropping the pop-up at second base, A-Rod's pop fly, that he'll never live that down. Anytime, if you saw him, wouldn't it be the first thing you thought about was that play?
It goes the other way, too. Aaron Boone is only associated as the guy that hit that home run. He's not associated with actually starting at third base for the Yankees anymore. Like, that play he made on Jack Cust, he ran him down. Totally forgot about that.
Yeah, so let's do let's do this. Let's just jump into our ProfitX picks right now, and make sure, guys, if you do sign up, you use the code YanksU. We'll use this as an opportunity real quick in a couple minutes. We'll just talk about this Boston series because I know what everyone's thinking. So far, the Yankees are winning one-run games. If it's 1-0, they're finding ways to win, right?
Yes.
They can go up there and put up crooked numbers, win a game 8-3. They're able to put up some big-time offensive numbers. All their rankings are high. Their starting pitching, maybe we don't have as much depth as we'd like, but the top of our rotation, Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, a lot of those guys, Will Warren, you saw it today, they're giving us a lot. They are. But the one thing, the Yankees, the one box they have yet to check off, Jake, outside of that Padres series we saw at Yankee Stadium, the Yankees have not beat the teams they feel like we need to send a message. And this Boston team, while they're wildly out of the race for the division, it's not totally dead, but they're absolutely on the outside. Them going and even winning this series in Boston, if the Yankees can do that, it would be a major message, and it's something they haven't sent, not one time so far, it feels like, this year. So what are you thinking happens? Because obviously, let's make some picks, and I guess those will be our predictions.
Yeah, I'm going to look at it in terms of this. All right, we watched Aaron Judge today. As that, at bat went across, right? Like he just continued to go through this at bat, his first of the day. He's scanning, he's surveying, he's learning about this pitcher because he's thrown in the fire. What you saw Aaron Judge against Boston, when he was going up against Crochet, he was learning about Crochet as the game went on. And you could see him, Crochet won the battle, right? But Judge was there. Like he came close, and you saw Crochet at one point like, oh crap. He came close to hitting one out. I think that is going to be the deciding factor in this one. They already saw Yarbrough and they hit him, and I think Yarbrough can adjust to that. Crochet did give up runs, but he also, I say he had like the best 5-run performance I think I've seen. I think this time, though, they're going to have Judge in the lineup to actually combat that because they put up 5 runs without Judge. I think Judge is going to be a part of the action tomorrow, and I think the Yankees are going to get the win. So I personally would stay away from the strikeouts on both of these guys. I think total bases, just keep it moving along. Aaron Judge versus Garrett Crochet. I think Judge hits a home run, and so, at the very least, he'll have a double. Get me my total bases.
Beautiful. So I'm rolling with Cody Bellinger, over 1.5 total bases. Hangs with lefties with the best of them. I mean, he's probably one of the best left-handed at-bats against the Southpaws in the league. Like, he is just that guy. Obviously, Paul Goldschmidt, you would assume he'll be playing tomorrow. But I'm going to say this, and Alex Reyes with the Super with the 2 says we did beat the Mets. That is absolutely true. The Yankees delivered in that series. They felt like they had to with Soto, obviously returning to the stadium. But with this Boston series, this is going to be the ultimate test. Can the Yankees go out there? Ryan Yarbrough had a stinker of a start, but it doesn't matter what you do start to start. It's a matter of what you do more times than not. Ryan Yarbrough has been great for this Yankees team, a guy who's giving us contribution we didn't expect to happen. I think he's going to rebound. He'll do just fine. This is going to come down to whether or not the Yankees feel like they can hit Garrett Crochet, who's one of the best arms in the game this year. He just is. You trade for him. You give him the contract. He's motivated. He's excited to be in his... He has 110 Ks. So if you want to take the over on those Ks, you absolutely can do that. I wouldn't have a problem with it. But the Yankees are going to have to find a way to score. This is going to be one of those games you win 9-6. It's just not. The Yankees have to find a way to grind. Boston had a day off today. They're fresh. They're waiting for the Yankees at Fenway. Yankees are going to have to go out and take it.
Yeah, and we'll see. I see people in the comment section, hey, what about Stanton? We know nothing about Stanton. I can just tell you that Boone said there's been no communication. That's just what I want to hear. Manager has had no communication with this player. But no, I get what he's saying, though. He's trying to win baseball games right now. He's not focused on Stanton. They hire guys to let them know, yeah, he passed all the protocol. We're going to put him in. So that's really what it is with Stanton. I wouldn't be shocked if tomorrow we wake up and we see Pablo Reyes DFA'd or, whatever, optioned if he has options. Giancarlo Stanton add to the roster. But I'm not counting on that. And I'm very much expecting the Yankees to win this series, have a bounce back. They'll have Stanton next week at the worst.
Yeah, and the way he's hitting, I mean, he should be great. So I'm already chomping at the bit for him to play, and I know it presents a problem because this whole Ben Rice thing, but the fact that Aaron Boone gave us that little tidbit that he could catch some games, I'm not as worried as I once was. I thought that I was absolutely cognizant of the fact that Aaron Boone maybe wouldn't want to take any risk with Ben Rice defensively. It seems like he's going to do that. So not worried about it. I would have loved to have Giancarlo for tomorrow. It would have been the shot in the arm we feel like we needed, but we're coming off a sweep. The Yankees found a way to give big number 99 a day off. He should be ready to go for tomorrow's series. I'm ready to go win. You don't need a sweep. You need to send the message with a series win. After that happens, if it can happen, Boston's probably looking at selling at the deadline. That's probably the difference here in terms of momentum.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. So we're going to find out. In the comments section, I've been playing this game, old game, Mafia. So drop Mafia in the comment section. That's all I could think of. So it's been on my head. So yeah, drop that in the comment section after we go live. Gary's like, psh, you're playing that, not Red Dead, really? So yeah, do that, and we'll see you guys tomorrow on Friday the 13th. So, yeah.
Like this video.